Bueno, yo creo que es un placer, ¿no?, tener esta charla final con Cristian, ¿no? Gracias por venir, Cristian.
Gracias por el invito.
Y como decía Elena, yo creo que, bueno, hablando de emprendimiento, yo voy a intentar desgranar, ¿no?, las ideas, las motivaciones, la experiencia que ha tenido Cristian, bueno, pues en el desarrollo de, yo diría, sus diferentes iniciativas gastronómicas. Y creo que, bueno, pues intentaré exprimirte al máximo, si me dejas. Y bueno, quizás para empezar me gustaría que tú mismo hicieses una introducción, porque yo podría hacer una introducción de observador de cómo, ¿no?, de cómo te formas.
Sí.
Bueno, yo incluso también creo que lo que haces tiene que ver yo diría, tu origen familiar intercultural, y
Sí.
creo que es bien interesante, pero luego cómo tu formación, cómo empiezas en 2010 con Relé y luego cómo tienes el desarrollo, pero yo creo que sería muy interesante que tú hicieses como una pequeña introducción de
Okay.
tuya.
So I'll try and keep it short because there's a long. When you do a big introduction, I've experienced many things that I think are very interesting in my life, and sometimes it's difficult to limit to some of the things. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the invitation, and thank you for this whole event. It's been a great pleasure to be here and to spend a bit of time in the Basque Country. I think it's a great pleasure, and there's many things to discover here that I still have not discovered. So I will be back. But a quick introduction is I am a very privileged person. I have now today 5 restaurants in Copenhagen, and I am a part of a farm that whose idea it is to deliver to the restaurants that we have made. And I also am a part of a wine import company for the same reason, to deliver to the restaurants. I am of Italian origin. I was born in Messina in Sicily, in Italy, and I emigrated to Denmark in 1990 with my parents. And there is my mixed background, and the more I think of it, the good thing about being interviewed is that you really have to think about your answers. So sometimes it makes you think a little bit about yourself in a different way than you would if you just go about with your life. And for me, the part of me being an immigrant has actually been very important for my approach to life, but also gastronomy. In 2006, I was in El Bulli in Spain. That's where I have learned to speak and understand some language, which was mostly oído, 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 and ba 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 ba. But I tried to study it a bit more in that context. And I was, after that, returning to Denmark, to Copenhagen, and then working at Noma as the sous chef there for a couple of years. And then ventured into my own adventure, which was to open Relé in 2010. Relé, again, keeping it short, was the idea of trying to create a space where I think I could have high culinary ambitions. And I wouldn't say not to be ambitious in the rest of the restaurant. I was actually being very ambitious in the rest of the restaurant because I didn't want it to be a luxurious restaurant. I didn't want to do a fine dining. I wanted to make a place where creative cooking could be done, but the approach to how the restaurant was set up was much more welcoming and much more casual. I used to back then talk a lot about how is it that it's a little bit with fine dining, it's like saying that in music you can only have a big symphony orchestra or the opera, but all know that if you really want to have some crazy music experience, you can go to a bar in New Orleans and you experience the jazz music that is mind-blowing. No? For me, I don't understand how in restaurants there was seeming to be, I think that has changed a lot during the last few years, but there's seeming to be this idea that if you do high level, if you do vanguardia, as you say here, it has to be in a very expensive restaurant. I don't understand it. That was my approach to Relais, and it was quickly added a little appendix, which was Manfred's, which was a restaurant just facing Relais, and it is literally 5 meters away. And for various reasons, for me, it made very much sense to take over that restaurant as we were waiting for Relais to be a reality. And it created literally the essence of what Relais then became, because the synergy between the two restaurants was really what created the success of Relais and the quality of Manfred's. And still today, I'm a big believer in not, as a chef, not being too niche, like not focusing too much on something, but be able to cook in different disciplines, I think is important. I have a very holistic view on how to deal with food, and I think if you reduce it too much to some things, then it becomes more complicated to do the quality that I think it needs to be. A few years later, I had the possibility to open another restaurant, and while as with Relais, for me it was very important that it was a personal kitchen, and I didn't want it to be, I came from being a sous chef at Noma, so everybody was lining up to say, oh, look, that's very Noma. So I was doing the opposite. I was really forcing to say, whatever is very, for me, defining of Noma, I don't want to do it. To do the opposite. It was very important to find a place where I could have my own personality, to become or grow a personality from, find out myself what I wanted to do. And in that sense also, I didn't want it to be Italian, because with my Italian roots and heritage, if there would be pasta on the menu, it would have been Italian restaurant. There would be no way around it. So I avoided those things too, and then I felt, after a couple of years, I felt more comfortable with dealing with Italian food, because I felt I had defined myself more with Relais. And I then had the possibility to open up Based in Mirabel, which is 2 restaurants, but essentially just one, where we have a much more Italian-inspired approach. Not an idea of making an authentic Italian restaurant, because I really don't like that approach of looking at how to do things in Italy or in Spain, as JP was saying. For me, the key is to do what is the best. And what is the best in San Sebastian is not necessarily the best in Copenhagen. So I think it's when you go under a certain flag, then you limit yourself to that. And I think it's important as a chef to be able to evolve things in a certain direction. And yes, that brings me to today. And we opened another restaurant which is very similar to Based in Mirabel, but has more of a focus on vermouth last year. And all these things have created this strange animal that has become these restaurants and how they're linked together. And my idea was a couple of years ago to start going deeper into our connection with the raw material, and therefore establish a farm that would provide us with the vegetables particularly, but also at Based we produce mozzarella. It has pizzas and these things, so we produce mozzarella there, and now we do it with the milk from our own cows, which are at the farm. So for me, this very interesting way of connecting and linking all these things together are really exciting, and I feel that there's so much more to discover on how we work together and how we have our own little closed circuit of trying to keep getting the most out of our investments, but not only financially, but also intellectually, how people that learn something with me hopefully can give it in one of the restaurants, and so on. So it's been 6 years, and I've been very busy.
Yo creo que con esto nos has dado como, yo creo, una visión global, ¿no? Porque yo a Cristian le conocí hace un par de años, que él vino invitado a la reunión del Consejo Internacional del Basque Culinary Center, y Entonces me regaló este libro, que yo creo que es un libro que refleja muy bien el pensamiento que está detrás de esa primera iniciativa, ¿no? Yo verdaderamente enhorabuena por el libro, porque yo quería preguntarte cosas que están en el libro que estuvieron en la primera decisión, ¿no? Primero, vienes del mundo alta cocina y creas un proyecto y en varios momentos hablas de libertad, ¿no? Libertad para crear, pero incluso libertad financiera, ¿no? De no tener, hablando de emprendimiento y de montar nuevos negocios, de no tener tampoco socios financieros que te limitasen las decisiones ni bueno, casi las exigencias de rentabilidad, ¿no?
Yeah, to me it was a very much this quest for independence in everything, creatively, sorry, and also personally to find a place where I could just stand on my own and define what was good and wrong. Because for me as a chef, technically as a chef, I felt that I had learned a lot when I opened the restaurant, but I felt that when opening, it was really just the beginning of me trying to understand what I appreciated. And it was a way of being able to discover that I needed to be free from people telling me what is right and what is wrong. And I think that's very much the way that you need to define your own personality, is to try and understand what pleases me. In the discussion that has been here also about growth and not growth, it's all these definitions that are imposed on you culturally, socially, by other people. Like when you are born, you don't have these ideas, right? And for me, when I opened up the restaurant, it was important to find out what is it that I think. Oh, I was thinking of dining experiences and situations where I've been eating or trying something, or really something that emotionally gave me something special. And that was, I wanted to create a space where I could try and understand that more. What is the great food experience for me? And I knew that it was not a fine dining restaurant. For me, a fine dining restaurant is a paradox that is, the more time goes by, the more I have a hard time understanding what the hell is going on. Because I never felt comfortable in a fine dining restaurant. I felt comfortable at one point because I realized, well, I had experience from being in it, so I didn't feel I could do things wrong. So it wasn't like I didn't feel there. I felt at home because I've lived there for a long time. But you can be in an apartment that you lived in for 5 years, never really enjoy it, but you know it's your home, you know, but it doesn't feel right. That's a little bit what I had with the fine dining setting, with many of the things that are technically done at a table, and the signals that you send with the big tables and the long spacing. It's like I don't get it. Like I don't get it. For me, I've had fantastic food experiences in fine dining restaurants, but it's been fragments mostly, or one dish, but like really great dining experiences are normally for me happening in different places. So I wanted to create a space where I could be free from having those constraints or some expectations to live up to. Also knowing that it's strange that you spend so much money on creating those expectations, and then you run after living up to the expectations and paying off your debt. Like, I don't understand. Well, this is completely wrong for me. For me, the idea was to say, I prefer starting with a piece of plywood table and take it from there. But I decide what's on the plate, and I decide whether it's good or not. And for me, it was very much a defining moment to start up in this way, because I feel that I can accept people that don't like Relais, but I feel it's a unique restaurant. And if you don't like it or like it, for me it's okay. But I feel it's something special, and it has its own, because it has grown organically from the idea of wanting to do good. Not wanting to do what they say or what they say, but wanting to do good.
Y en esa conformación de la personalidad, ¿no? Yo creo que pienso que tú has sido pionero porque ya al año siguiente empiezas a tomar la sostenibilidad, ¿no? como un eje fundamental del desarrollo, yo diría, del restaurante, más luego de lo que ha venido después, ¿no? ¿Por qué 2011 apostar por, ¿no?, lo sostenible, orgánico?
For me, the sustainability, people tend to have this green color, save the world, plant a tree, as soon as you say sustainability. People forget what sustainability means. It means that this needs to make sense tomorrow. You know what I mean? Not only in terms of the environment, but also to do sustainable actions for yourself. For me, it was the idea of making a sustainable restaurant was also to do something that for me financially would be sustainable, that I would be able to live from it for a long time, that also it would be sustainable in a family type of idea. So I was only opening 4 days a week. I was closed a whole month of July for Christmas, a whole month of January, to be able to know that if I need to be in the restaurant all the time, then I need to have enough time off to be able to live, because that is being sustainable. And that then again asked me for having a place where the rent could be low enough for these ideas to be put into practice. And then I became a father in 2011. And for me, then sustainability, thinking forward, became an even bigger responsibility, because now it was not only myself and my way of approaching life and the way of working and work life and balance and these things, but it was also what do I give further on in terms of not only finances, but I think the legacy that you give your child should be more than my father made money for me to be able to get a driver's license when I was 18, right? It should be, well, he actually did good things, more or less. It was very important for me. Immediately, I was like, wow, I have such a big responsibility now towards another human being. And then, particularly, food for me went from being something gastronomic, pleasure, eating, also culturally it was also before, but I became much more aware of the health part of it, the dietary thing behind it, and also the ethical reasoning behind it. Because I felt, well, I have a son, I don't want to fill him with sugar, first of all. It's very important to me. Also, I don't want to feed him food that is filled with remainings of pesticides, with antibiotics, with all these things. And I would bring him or my then girlfriend would bring him to the restaurant when we would eat staff food. And he would join us for the meals there. And it was like, the realization was, it's important what you put in your mouth for all of us. It's like the connection of the household food and the restaurant became, for me, very clear there. And from the very first menu relay, we had organic chicken on as the main course. But I remember that one day for staff food, one of the chefs bought just super plain, supermarket or even lower level chicken breasts for staff food. And I was like, what is this shit? I don't want to feed this to my kid. I don't want to eat this. Nobody should eat this. I cannot feel that if I don't want to feed it to my kid, I don't want to feed it to my clients. What are we doing here? There's something I have not thought about here. So the idea of saying, okay, what is it that we choose organic and what is it that we don't choose organic became what I was really focusing on. And that was the process that then became that we applied for the organic certification later on, because I realized that I needed to change some things logistically and really think about the pricing and really think about these things to be able to go for an organic certification. That then became the first step in having a more and more, I think, obvious look at what is sustainable practice or not. And again, I think sometimes it becomes a little bit too much a talk of we need to save the world. But I think if you just think about what you do with responsibility, you go a long way. And if you do what it is you say that you do, then you go a long way. I don't think it's important to win prizes for sustainability or these things. For me, sustainability is a win-win situation in every situation. If you use the scraps for something the next day, you save money. You know, you give more value to the food you have, and it is an idea of thinking that resources are not infinite, and you just need to take good care of them. It's easy. It's not a sport where you can win gold medals. It's just reasonable.
Y esta idea que empezó en Relais se ha extendido también a los otros 4 restaurantes y por supuesto a la granja, etcétera.
Yeah, because then the obvious idea was to say we had Manfred's and Relais connected, and once we said, okay, we need to turn up the quality on some things because we simply did not think about it. We were thinking we were doing quality, but what you would do in Denmark, I think that was very popular at one point, was that there was this Danish Crown, which is the biggest butchery, slaughterhouse, corp, I don't know, not in the world, but it's enormous in Europe. They would have the special, system only for top restaurants, right? So basically they would, you would call them and say, I want sweetbreads and I want them around 200 grams, they need to be beautiful. And you would get a black box with stars on it. Wow, the sweetbreads would be perfect, no? I thought that was quality. But I realized it's the same shit as all the rest in a black box. You know? And you can just make things look so good without any substance in it. And as I realized that when I talk quality about meat, the ethical reasoning in it needs to be a part of it. I could not accept a black box like this, because this is from the masses of the 20 million of pigs that are butchered in Denmark every year without any criteria for the ethical quality. I was like, we can't do this. When we decided, okay, we cannot do this, we want an organic certification, we need to make a contract with people that come in and eat, that they know that all the food that is served here is at least of that quality. We need to ditch this, and then we couldn't do sweetbreads anymore. Not for a main course at Relais, where we would need maybe 10, 15 kilos every day. On the menu, it was not possible. We needed to do only whole, or at least very big pieces of animals, like half a cow would be fine, but mostly lamb, chicken, and pork is what we have been doing, because we would get it in whole animals. And Manfred's was key in making that a possibility, because then we could buy whole lamb, and what you typically, when we have lamb on the menu at Relais, you typically have a fridge at base with 8 lambs, because 4 are this week, 4 is for the following week, aging, and we just start cutting it down. And then typically at Relais, we would actually use the shoulder, sometimes the back leg, and the other pieces would be used at Manfred's. So the synergy in between these 2 restaurants, for the sake of quality to go up, is sustainable, because I can keep prices that are reasonable. We went a little bit up when we turned everything organic, but not much more than we've done every year, as everything else does always. And the logistics behind it had to change, but the quality of the produce that we start with is at a much higher level, and I think it gives everybody much more. The client, but also us, as in the staff, needs and gets skills from working with foods at a completely different level than if you just get sweetbreads in a black box. And that the synergies of really trying to go to the producer to get the lowest possible price, so you, in the sense that you don't have many other layers making it more expensive for you, So you get the most possible quality for to start off with at the lowest possible price, and then you start by working it, adding as much value to it as possible to be able to bring it to the next step. And when we added Based, it was a little bit, what I thought was fun was that we had Manfred's and Relais that were vegetable-focused restaurants, but they got really good at working with meat, because again, when you really put a lot of value in the produce, then you take very well care of it. And then Based became the opposite, because we got really good at working with pork, and now we're just gonna make charcuterie out of the pigs instead. So it's like the opposite of Relais Manfred's, but still with the same philosophy. We start with the best possible pig we can get, and we add a lot of value, and then we cut slices so thin you can look through it, and we serve it, and it's a sustainable business. And we help a person that has 200 pigs a year, whatever it is, to actually have a business, because we are a part of that chain, you know. And I think that's some of the very satisfying things about the sustainable approach, is that it just makes sense.
Y hablando de sostenibilidad, ¿cuál es la estrategia de gestión de personas que tienen, ¿no? Porque al final esto está integrado, ¿no? Al hablar de sostenibilidad, empezando desde cero hace 6 años, a tener ahora pues unas 130 personas empleadas.
Yeah. Well, we started off being 3 in the kitchen and 2 in the front, and I was joking. My sous chef, which is now the head chef of Relais, he's Canadian, and he had worked with me at Noma for a long time, and he didn't speak a word of Danish. And I said in the beginning, okay, when you learn to speak Danish, we'll get a dishwasher. That was the approach to the staffing situation to begin with. He still doesn't speak anything Danish. Well, I think he understands what I say in Danish, but he doesn't really want to repeat. And now it's 130 people, yeah. So it's really been a huge change in those 6 years, and for me it's a constant evolution in trying to find out how to deal with people in the best possible way. I'm very proud of the way we went from Relais Manfred's to opening Based in Mirabel, because it was like this team that I've really had been cultivating for a long time, working with them at a very personal level, and then sort of taking a piece of them and then throwing them 700 meters away to another, and then have a new thing grow there. I think that was very successful, but I realized today that there is only, when we do work like this that is so driven by visions and passion and wanting to do things, and it's so not easy to calculate. You know, it's not just a question of profit and everybody gets a percentage, and then if we do better, then everybody gets more money. That's a very basic, very easy way to do a business. I really feel that I'm on an adventure and I have people with me, and I feel that if I can influence people, I really have them with me for a long time. And now with 130 people, there's a limit to how much personal interaction I can have with people, and there's a limit to how much bigger I want the team to be, because it becomes difficult to influence people and also remind people about these things. I had this incident some time ago where I was like, you know, a person was doing, and this is at Manfred, this is where I spend the most time from the restaurants. There was a person doing Jerusalem artichokes in a way, like chewy Jerusalem artichoke. There's a recipe in the book, but doing it in a different way than it's in the book. And I said, people are buying the fucking book, and then to do it, and here someone is doing it in a different way, and I just don't get it. It's a constant challenge to be able to keep things growing and still keep them on the right way. Because I believe if you control too much, it stops growing. Then it's only me that can make it grow. And I think that's a mistake. The risky, more difficult, more complicated way is to make sure that it grows, but keeping it in the right direction. And that is my challenge.
Podríamos estar, la verdad, que hablando horas y horas.